What's up, everybody? Today's the day I'm gonna spread some knowledge. So I came back home to the Sunshine State, back to Florida. They got Jeep Beach going on, but I'm from here, so I never waste an opportunity to come home. And just so happened this weekend was Jeep Beach. I figured I might roll over there, but before I roll over there, I got some maintenance that I need to do to the Jeep. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change the differential oil, diff oil. Now I know there's a lot of videos out there on changing diff oil on JLs, JKs, Chevys, Fords, all of that, but this is mine. And there's gonna be a couple different things about mine that we're gonna see. So I put that skid plate on the rear diff that I'm gonna have to take off. It's a pain, but fortunately for diff oil, it's not like oil where you gotta change it every 5,000 miles or whatever. It doesn't happen that often, so I won't have to take that skid plate off that often. And Jeep recommends that you change your diff oil 30 to 50,000 miles, I think. And mine is just a little over 50,000 miles. So we're gonna see what it looks like with that amount of mileage on it. Now, when I do this video, I'm gonna go over some of the terminology, oil weights, well, a couple of oil weights that designed for these things. And that way, for some of y'all that don't know, this doesn't work on Jeeps, has never changed your oil, that don't do anything to take it to the dealer, you'll see just how easy it is to do some of this stuff on your own, and maybe you'll decide to tackle this stuff on your own and save yourself some money and give you a little bit of insight on what you're looking for. So let's get into some of the stuff. So with these axles, they're the advanced version of the Dana 44, but they go by M200, M210, and 220. Now, the 200 is on the JLs, but on the Gladiators, we have the 210 and the 220. 210 is up front, 220 is in the back. And those numbers stand for the ring gear diameter. Now, I could go into detail more about spline count and all this other stuff, but you can Google all of that. But at the end of the day, unless you're a person that's changing gears, you're putting on your own lockers and stuff like that, that's all you need to know. M210, M220. Now, on these, Jeep recommends for the front, you use 75/85 for the diff oil, and the rear. But they also say that if you're gonna be towing or under hard stress, like if you're doing some wheeling and stuff like that, you probably want to run, well, they recommend 75/140 in the rear. So what I have is I have the 75/85 for the front, and I got the 75/140 for the rear. Now, I recommend, not saying this is what you got to do, but I recommend you run full synthetic, just like the engine oil. So that's what I got. I'm running full synthetic. Now I have the overland, and on my overland, I have limited slip. So if you have a limited slip vehicle, you have to put limited slip additive. Now they make gear oil now that you can get limited slip additive already added in it. Valvoline full synthetic has the additive already in it, but you can buy the additive for like $8. You know, it's not that expensive. But that's if you have a vehicle with limited slip differential. So we're gonna go ahead and get into this, draining this thing and getting this fluid out so we can inspect it, so y'all can see what it looks like after a little over 50,000 miles and all that good stuff, hopefully. And I left Texas and forgot my drain pan. I got like 4 of them, open and closed drain pans. So it looks like I may have to, if my dad does. Aha, my dad got one. I know my dad got some stuff around here. This dude got everything. Yo, look, my pops got everything out here. I mean, we live 30 miles out in the woods. And see, let me explain something to y'all about country life, living in the woods. When you live 20, 30 minutes from the nearest auto parts store, hardware store, stuff like that, you gotta pretty much have everything to keep you from running all over the place. Cause it'll cost you more than gas. And then if you got your vehicle already towed down, then guess what? You got to find somebody to take you. So you got to try to keep everything. And just my luck, my old man got an oil pan. Yes. So we're going to get this thing. We're going to pull the bolts out. get the drain fill plug out, get the everything out, and we're gonna go ahead and get started on changing this fluid and see what this stuff look like. Let's get into it. All right, so first of all, I apologize to everybody about the glare from the sunlight back there. You know, my bad. But we're gonna start on the front diff because, like I said, I gotta take that skid plate off the back. You can see it way back there, glowing in the light. I gotta get that off, so we're gonna start on the front and get it to draining. So when you first look at your diff, first thing you'll see is on the front, there's your drain plug right there. Well, the fill hole. And on the front diffs, the drain plug is right underneath. And what it's going to take is a 3/8 ratchet to get it off. So let's go ahead and get this thing off, draining. Go ahead. Now you can see in the video that it's coming out pretty clear. That's pretty good all right there. But it's in the front, so it should be. Now you ain't got really much going on. You only really use the front. You only engage them when you use the four-wheel drive, so it should be like that on the front. I dropped the bolt and the doggone pan. Now what I recommend that you do, just like when you're changing the oil, is to take out the front drain fill hole, because you're gonna have to take it out anyway. And just like when you're changing the oil and you take the filter off, let some air flow through. So one good important thing is you want to have a clean oil pan so you can tell the difference between the oil and the dirt. I got a leaf that's flown in here, but besides that, you saw the oil when it was coming out, that it looks pretty clean. Looks like it's supposed to look, you know. The front gears don't get engaged that often, only when you're wheeling off road and you get yourself in a situation where you need it. So it shouldn't be that bad. The telltale is going to be the rear though. So I'm going to go ahead and start working on this skid plate, get it off, and check this out and see what it looks like. It should be darker. I mean, if it is, that's normal, so it should be. So let's get into it. So here's what I'm talking about, and I'll show you a little bit closer once I get the skid plate off. But there's the drain hole for the, fill hole for the rear diff. It's a little bit warm because I just drove it, but the fill hole for the rear diff, and the drain plug is up under here. So got to take the skid plate off. And I don't know, I think I put like 50 pounds of torque on this thing, so let's get it off. Now you can see there's the drain hole, the drain plug right there. So I'm gonna just take that same ratchet, knock that loose, get it to draining, and take the fill hole plug out, and we'll see what it looks like.
If you need something to lay on?
No, I'm good.
And all them bags in there?
It don't matter. I don't need it.
Huh?
I don't need it.
Okay.
My dad just asked me did I need anything to lay on because I left my creeper home. That loose. Go ahead and break this loose. Was it just that hard, or was it just me? Yeah, it was just me. Yep. It's a little bit darker, but you know what? It's not bad. Let me take this plug on out so to stop doing that. The drain hole, the fill hole. There we go. Once you take the fill hole out, you notice it changes speed, goes a little bit faster. Got it all over my doggone hand again. So y'all can see my dad asked me, did I want something to lay on? Because I'm laying on the ground. Because just like the oil pan that I left back home, I left my doggone creeper home. But it's all good though. Because when I was coming up, you know, like I said, living out here, we didn't have creepers and all the other stuff. We laid on whatever we could find. T-shirt, towel, newspaper, plastic bag. It didn't matter. So I'm used to it. I'm old school. It don't matter. I don't need it anyway. So let's take a look at this. Let's get this oil out and take it out of here and take a look at it in this pan. Now, as y'all can see, I got the oil out. You saw when it was draining that it is a little bit darker, but that's expected because the rear end gets used pretty much 100% of the time, whether it's under stress or whether it's normally driving, it gets used 100% of the time, unlike the front. So it's supposed to be darker. But what you really want to look for is when it's draining, to see what some mechanics like to call sparklies. In other words, shavings or anything like that from the gears grinding or the meshing or whatever. So that's what you want to look for. This oil looks pretty good for being a little over 50,000 miles. That's not bad at all. I mean, I'm not. And one of the main things you want to look for is chunks. If you see chunks of any metal in your oil, you need to get it looked at immediately because you got other issues. But there's no chunks. There's really not anything sparkling there. It's dark like it's supposed to be, darker than the front like it's supposed to be. So, you know, I ain't really mad at it at all. I like this. So, all right. Now, when you're looking at the drain plug, there's a magnet in there. They put the magnet in there so when there's shavings, because you know you can't avoid it. It's metal. Metal against metal, stuff just comes off. You can't avoid it. It's going to grind a little bit. It's going to knock some off. And this magnet is in there to help catch it, save it, so it doesn't keep getting grinded up in the gears. But overall, it doesn't look bad. Looks pretty good. I'm not upset at all. So this looks pretty good. So I'm gonna get this all cleaned up and get it wiped down and get this stuff put back in, get it filled back up. And if you can see, they use Teflon sealant, and we're gonna use thread sealant. We're gonna put the same thing back on there. So I'm gonna get this thing cleaned up and get this fluid back in and keep it moving. There you go. Back to the front diff real quick before I fill it back up and I clean off the drain plug and the fill plug. I just want to show y'all real quick about the sludge off the front of the magnet on the drain plug on the front. Same thing as the rear. Build up, clean off, good to clean, put it back in. Let's get in it. So one more thing I do want to show y'all before I put this drain plug back in the front diff. If you look real close on the front drain plug, there's a rubber O-ring right there. Not like the rear where you got to put the thread sealant on it. The front, it's got that rubber O-ring, so you don't need thread sealant. And make sure you inspect that O-ring just like on the oil filter for any cracks, splits, or anything, because if it does, you're gonna have to replace it. So make sure you check it for anything that's going wrong before you stick it back in there. If you don't see nothing wrong with it, go ahead, put it back in there and load up so you get your Jeep on the road. Now, here's the thing. You gotta fill it up to the bottom of the drain hole. And on this diff, since I got this skid plate and all that crap up here, you should be able to see down in there and tell right where it is. Or you can just fill it till it runs over. Now there's a couple ways you can do this. Obviously you can't get the bottle up in there. Well, I probably could, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna do a little bit different. You can get a pump where you can pump it in there and fill it up. I have a tube, and I'm gonna just put this tube on the end of the bottle, squeeze it in till it gets there, and since I can't see down in there because of where it is, I have to lift my Jeep up a lot higher. I'm just fill it till it overflows, and I'll know it's to the edge of the hole, and we're gonna go from there. So let me go get the oil pan so I can have somewhere for the drip not mess up my dad's garage and him have to come out here and choke me out. Now let me throw a disclaimer out there before I do anything else. I didn't tell you to do it the way I'm doing it, all right? Just options. And there are easier and better ways to do this, which A would be to lift this thing up on the lift so you can get it up higher, and get the suspension away from the vehicle, which drops the diff down so you can see down in the hole. And B, you could use a pump to pump this fluid in there. That way you can see when it fills to the edge of the hole. But I'm doing it this way, kid back there, because emergency time, call for emergency measures. You don't have the tools and everything in front of your face. You do what you got to do. So that's what I'm doing, what I got to do. So you do it your way, and I'm gonna do it mine, because you got to make it happen some kind of way. So here we go. And just so you know, the M210 calls for 2.18 pints of diff fluid, which equals up to about 1.5 quarts. That'll give you an estimate about how much you're going to be putting in there, so you'll know when it comes close to overflowing. And there you have it. See if I can get a little bit closer for you. The fluid is right there to the bottom of the drain hole, and I filled it till it leaked over a little bit, because that's the only option I have right now. But that's what it takes, and as long as you get it to where it needs to be, that's all that matters. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the fill plug back in, the 34 pounds, and get this plug back up in the front, and we're gonna move on to the back. And holy smokes, my dad got a lot of junk back there. Jeez. Anyway, get the back filled up and get this thing back rolling. Let's go. Now, here we got our full synthetic. Comes in a little squeezable bag. And guess what? It's got the limited slip additive already in it. And I had bought this tube that I probably could have took back, but I've already cut the tip of it off, so we're not taking that back. So we're stuck with it. Never mind. So I'm gonna go ahead, and here's the drain plug. I got some thread sealant right here. So probably what I'm doing, I'm gonna put thread sealer back around there where it was. So clean off around that. Got my thread sealant on there. I'm probably about to get all over my fingers. .34 foot-pounds. Getting tight. There we go. All right, so 75, 144 cents. Good thing about this is it comes in these little squeezable bottles. That I forgot to take. Such a rush. I need to slow down and take the should be coming up close. I think that's it right there. Yep. Yep. That's it. There we go. 34 foot-pounds. All right, so that's it. That's how you change out your diff fluid. It's not that complicated. It's actually really easy. Drain and refill. The only thing you gotta keep in mind is the right oil specifications. In other words, the right size weight that you're supposed to be using for each axle, and depending on what you're doing, like towing anything, the right torque specifications, foot-pounds each bolt, drain fill plug, or whatever it's supposed to be in, and pretty much just the right tools, you know what I mean? Just make sure you got everything you need so you don't have to go get anything, and it's just that easy. And also gave you a quick terminology of the M210 and the M220 and what they actually mean and what that stands for. And the JL also has the M200. So that's it. And you saw what the oil looks like after a little over 50,000 miles. Like I said, Jeep recommends 30 to 50. I hope I helped somebody out. I hope y'all learned something. Stay safe. Don't forget to smile. Y'all go out and change your life. Peace out, y'all.